All right, everybody, welcome to BO Boys for Thursday, June 12th. Fuck it, it's a raw feed. We're doing it live in studio. I'm Clayton.
Yeah, I'm Pat. So, Clayton, we are on the clock today. As you said before we got on air, we gotta make this quick and concise because you have to do laundry. You have no clean clothes. And if we wait too long, you will be just covered in filthy clothes. Is that what is on the line in this episode?
That is, on the line. I like how you use that clothesline on the line. Very good.
Yeah.
Also, a movie starring one of the NSYNC boys on the line, correct?
Yes. Is that on the line?
I
Is that what it was called? Lance Bass? Was that a Lance Bass vehicle?
I believe he was on the line.
Yeah. And that did not do well at the box office, right?
Did not.
There was no sequel. Lance Bass's star as a movie star ended with that movie on the line. So very important that we keep this episode concise, though I do think we should do at least 15 or 20 minutes on Lance Bass's box office career. Like, that feels like this is the week for it.
This is definitely the week for it.
Yeah. No clean clothes. What time does this laundromat close? What is the deadline? Is there any
deadline? I see how you're doing it. See, this is what we do in this podcast.
Well, you don't have a variety of clean clothes.
Yeah. This is starting to feel like a hit piece, but
Not a hit piece.
What I like about this podcast is that most podcasts, they start out and they start talking about bullshit. They talk about random shit. They talk about, the traffic or the open mic they're going to do later.
What did happen at last night's open mic?
That's a story for over dinner.
Yeah.
But we always tie everything back to box office.
Yes.
Talk about clothes, then we're talking about Lance Bass movies.
Yes.
Deadline.
Right.
Anthony D is for calling us dummies, D'Alessandro.
Now here's something on that, because we do have to talk about this, because we got a YouTube comment asking about how the last few episodes we have been saying Anthony D is for calling us dummies, D'Alessandro, and someone in one of the YouTube comments asked, can someone point me towards the video where Anthony D'Alessandro called them dummies? And got to clear this up because we are YouTubers. Hey guys. Anthony D'Alessandro, he never called out the BO boys as being dummies.
No.
He knows better. He wouldn't do that.
No.
What he did say is he called his own readers dummies in a must-read Sunday write-through maybe 2 weeks ago.
About Karate Kid Legends.
That's what it was. Yes. Why did he call them dummies again?
Because why did this movie not do well? Well, dummies. And I think he could have also been talking about the people behind the film, Sony. He could have been calling them too.
Yeah.
But it came off as, hey, if you're reading this, you're a dummy.
Yes. If you're asking that question, that's what it was. He was calling the askers of the rhetorical question that he posed dummies.
Yes.
So that is the origin of Anthony D is for calling us dummies, D'Alessandro. It's not that he called out the BO boys and said those guys are dummies. That didn't happen. Would never happen.
And let me be very clear.
Yeah.
He's cheeky.
Yes, he's being cheeky.
Yeah, he's being cheeky. I was trying to think of a word that means cheeky that starts with D, but I can't. Not right now. Mm-hmm. But I'm thinking about my laundry. It's really on my mind right now.
Yeah.
But
every second that goes by, it's more and more on your mind.
Yeah, it's more like, okay, I'm going to be wearing Umbro shorts tomorrow because I don't have any clean clothes.
You could just see her at this point. You're already envisioning her having just turned the key, walking away, you dragging this, what I imagine is this giant heavy bag of
No. I'm picking up my laundry.
Oh, you're picking up.
You thought it was dropping off.
You're picking up clean clothes.
No, I have clean clothes.
Waiting for you.
Waiting for me.
And they will be behind a locked door.
Yes.
If we don't get through this episode in a timely, concise manner.
That's the thing. If we don't get through what we need to get through, which is two big movies.
2 new movies coming out.
And
we have to get through both of those in a thorough manner.
I will be stinky tomorrow.
Wow. And possibly for the whole weekend because, listen, she might just say, or he or they people. These laundromat people might just say, I'm taking Saturday off. I'm not even opening up on Saturday. I've got to go see How to Train Your Dragon, the remake. That might be that could be a problem for you if the owner of this laundromat decides Saturday is the only day I could take my family to see the shot for shot live action remake of How to Train Your Dragon, they might close the
Well, it'd be if they're
all
doing,
weekend. Friday, Saturday, they're just saying.
Well, tomorrow's Thursday.
Tomorrow's Thursday.
So
yeah.
they could close for the Thursday preview, though.
Yes.
They could be like, I don't know when I'm going to see it.
Yeah.
Previews for this probably start at like 1, 3 p.m.
They
I don't
might
get
close
up.
this laundromat all weekend to go see the
Yeah.
movie. Yeah.
It could be a holiday. I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
you really need to get there tonight.
I really do. I really need to get there tonight. So we really need to get into it.
We have to get
really
into
need
this.
to get into On the Line and what it did when it came out. And
I'm going to make a guess. I think that On the Line, starring Lance Bass, which probably came out in 2005, maybe?
Oh, that's way late.
Okay, earlier than that. I am going to say that movie made under 10 million domestic total. That is my guess. That we have to find this out.
Oh, I really feel like it's that. Like, I mean, there's
June 2025.
It's got to be single digits.
It's got to be, right? It's got to be single digits.
And it might not even be called On the Line. Let me check, because when I put in On the Line in the numbers, it shows up with a movie that Mel Gibson did in 2022.
Okay. It is On the Line. 2001's On the Line.
So yeah, 2001. Okay.
Yeah, so we are at the point now where we are just figuring out the name of this movie.
No, we knew it. I had a little bit, the numbers screwed me a little bit.
Okay.
Here, which they I mean, listen, if we start talking about the numbers, we'll never get anything done.
Yeah.
So I think Joey Fatone was also the co-star technically for this movie.
Okay.
Wow, is he not even showing up?
All right, so I've got On the Line.
How did you find it?
The numbers I put in 2001 in addition to the title of the movie. So that's my hack.
Okay.
That's the numbers hack, as I also put the year. Okay, so the On the Line, starring Lance Bass, and we think Joey Fatone, and the city of Chicago is really the co-star
third
of this
build.
movie. Yeah. This movie came out, you're right, I was way late on it. It came out October of 2001, and it opened to $2.3 million.
And what, ended up at 7?
And it ended up at $4.3 million.
Rough
So
stuff.
not even a 2 times multiplier for
Okay.
On the Line. Of course, came out in 2001, starring Lance Bass, which we're talking about in this episode where we really have to be concise and get you to clean clothes.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, listen, just very quickly, we have to go into these drops for On the Line starring Lance Bass in 2001.
What, how many theaters did it open in? Because it couldn't have opened in...
It only opened in 900 theaters, which means Chris Klemmer, if he was back then doing his gimmick that he's doing now where he has to see every movie that opens up at 1,000 theaters or more.
For his college newspaper.
Yes, there would have been back in the college days if he was writing about how he sees every movie that opens at 1,000 theaters or more, he would not have had to see On the Line starring Lance Bass in 2001.
So wait, did you say that was October?
October 26, 2001.
Okay.
So it's opening in the shadow
affected.
of some major events.
Yeah. So it was affected. Can we put an asterisk there?
I mean, here's the thing. Email us, theboboyspodcast@gmail.com. Do you think the box office of Lance Bass's star vehicle On the Line, opening October 26, 2001, does it get an asterisk for being affected by the events of 6 weeks prior?
It's so fresh.
Yeah.
It would have been so fresh.
But here's the thing. The movie takes place in Chicago.
Which was unaffected.
So I don't know if it gets the asterisks. I think movies set in New York that opened in October 2001, they definitely get the asterisks, or movies that came out like the week after. I think Zoolander gets the asterisks. Do we agree on that?
Well, so Lance Bass was in Zoolander. So this was supposed to be in September when Zoolander came out.
Wow.
Lance Bass sort of said, hey, here I am.
Right. That was always supposed to be to whet the appetite for that
For On the Line
coming out in October.
And that was all screwed up.
So could we say Lance Bass is one of the most affected people by the events of fall 2001? Lance Bass's box office movie star career really is one of the things that we forget and never forget, but people have forgotten how fall of 2001 should have been a big breakout movie star time for Lance Bass, and it wasn't. Can we say that?
I think that we will never know.
We'll never know. Yeah.
Unless those tragic events didn't happen.
Right.
Whether he would have become a movie star, whether he would have gotten the sort of career that Timberlake got.
Right.
Where, I mean, he was in a few, would Lance Bass have been in The Social Network?
If things don't happen in September 2001 and it's an easier time for everyone, Zoolander comes out, Ben Stiller hosts SNL like he was scheduled to, Zoolander is a bigger hit in its initial release, that's good for Lance Bass. Then On the Line follows that up in the end of October and people are in a good mood. They go see On the Line. That opens to, say, 10 million. I think there is a chance that it's Lance Bass saying the immortal line in The Social Network, drop it's cleaner.
Yeah.
Right? It's possible.
Yeah.
It's
definitely possible. And I know, listen, I have my clothes waiting. We definitely need to wrap this up.
Yeah, we need to be concise, but at least 10 more minutes.
But this is also somebody that was greatly affected by these tragic events.
Mm-hmm.
I do have to talk briefly about Anne Heche, and I'm sure I've talked about this before. Anne Heche came out with a memoir around those tragic events.
Okay.
Not about those, but before that.
It would have been amazing if her book came out and that's what it was about.
Yeah, I know.
It came out in September 2001 about that.
It was called Call Me Crazy, a memoir.
Okay.
Now, this was a different time.
Yeah.
I'm not calling her that. She called herself that in print. It was a different time. She went on all the talk shows, was talking about how she was abducted by aliens or there was aliens involved. This was a bombshell memoir.
Yeah.
And then the tragedy happens, and all anybody can talk about is the tragedy.
Right.
Nobody's talking about Call Me Crazy. No one's talking about On the Line.
Right.
Nobody's talking about Lance Bass.
No one's talking about Chandra Levy.
No. So I say those are the top three.
Those are the top three.
That were most affected.
Yeah. And now one of them, though, was specifically box office.
Yes.
So that is the most
Anne Heche, I do think that memoir could have been
catapulted her back into a movie star.
Or turned into a film.
Yeah.
And then it was dead in the water because of the tragic events.
Yeah. Now, as far as Gary Condit goes, there's no box office tie-in to him being knocked off the newspaper pages at that point or not being a guest on Larry King every night anymore. Like, if tragic events didn't happen and Gary Condit continued to be a growing concern fall of 2001, that probably doesn't translate to him getting a big screen star vehicle.
Not unless Lance Bass becomes a huge star and that's a pet project he wants to play Gary.
Right.
And then you've got something.
Then you've got something, for sure.
Because you've got this hot actor off of
Zoolander
and On the Line.
Yeah. All right, so we gotta be concise this episode.
Yes.
Let's talk about the movie that may cause your laundromat to close immediately because they have to see this over and over again. And that's How to Train Your Dragon 2025, aka the shot-for-shot remake.
Well, speaking of Anne Heche.
Okay.
The Psycho remake, which Anthony D is for Called Us Dummies, and now that's been explained.
Yeah.
D'Alessandro invoked in his preview for this weekend. He talked about this is not a Psycho situation. This is not a Van
And when you say Psycho, you mean the name of the movie that Anne Heche co-starred in.
No, I didn't sum up her book, her memoir, by just calling it Psycho.
Yes. You're talking about she was in the movie. She played the Janet Leigh part in the Psycho remake?
Yeah.
Okay. And
the only change in that, of course, was when Norman, is his name Norman?
Yeah, it's Norm.
Can I call him Norm? I'll call him Norm.
Yeah.
Sorry,
when he walks, you were thinking of funny episodes from Cheers.
I was. I'm sorry. I was just thinking of when Norm sits down at the bar.
Yeah.
So many great memories.
They don't do that. R.I.P. They don't do that in Psycho, right? When he enters the Bates Motel and they yell out, "Hey, Norm."
No, they don't say Norm.
Yeah.
But Norm, when he's watching her in the shower, there's the fapping noises. That's the only addition that that he added to it.
Okay.
The fapping. It's now canon that he fapped.
So this How to Train Your Dragon is similarly a shot-for-shot remake.
No, he's saying it's not.
He's saying it's not. And he also has clarified there's not...
No fapping.
He didn't add a fap the way Gus Van Sant added a fap in the Psycho remake.
No.
That's been confirmed.
Yeah, that's been confirmed. No
that
fap.
the dragon isn't alone in a cave and then you just hear...
Fap. Yeah. Yeah, no fap. Yeah.
Okay.
It is a no fap film.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, that's good. That's good. I mean, I think that's great for the box office considering they're trying to be a, family-friendly film.
Mm-hmm.
So very good that they didn't add the remake fap.
Yeah.
That some, other directors add to their remakes.
Yeah.
So this is not a shot for shot, but it seems like it is because it's the same director as the animated film doing this live action remake.
And we got our man, Jerry Butler is in this, which is huge for him. I mean, this is going to be his biggest, maybe biggest opening ever. What did 300 open to? It's going to open bigger than 300.
It's got to be, I would bet 300 open to like 50, right? Does that seem right to what that movie would open to? Maybe it opened to more than that, but I mean, yes, I think this is going to be Jerry Butler's biggest opening of all time.
Yeah.
And good for him on staying in the cast because otherwise they pretty much recast everyone from the animated film into this one. I think he's the only one that has stayed on.
Because I feel like he played a character that maybe was a little bit older than he was when he played that character. It opened to 70, Pat.
Wow.
300 opened to 70. It was a phenomenon.
So that is a pretty good, I mean, based on the projections for this opening weekend, How to Train Your Dragon, which is being projected at like 60 to 70.
Yeah.
That is a good over-under. Will this be Jerry Butler's biggest opening weekend ever? Will it get over 70 million?
I have a I have a feeling that it's going to go over.
Yeah. I mean, I do think people are underestimating this movie and they're getting caught in the trap of saying, oh, but it looks so similar to the other one. Are people going to want that? It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. I don't think that these kids and these families are saying this looks too familiar. That's a bad thing. They're saying, no, this looks like the thing that I watch all the time. I will go see this because I am a kid and I just want the same thing over and over again.
So the thing with this, though, is that they're saying, like, this is from Box Office Pro, and who knows what AI is writing this at this point. But it does have a good point. I hate to say that about AI, but this AI on Box Office Pro might have a decent point.
Okay.
In that this might not be for little kids.
Okay,
right?
Because of the dragon.
Because it might be too scaly.
Okay.
Lilo and Stitch was not scaly.
No.
It was
Stitch
very
was
much,
adorable.
it was very much for everybody. The what I was saying before, though, why I think this could do really well is because where you lose the very, very little kids, you get some more actual adults or teens because it's a sword and sorcerer, and that's a little bit more grown up. So you might get less little kids, but you might refill that with some people that are older than who would go to Lilo and Stitch.
Okay.
And so I do agree this is not going to open as big as Lilo and Stitch did, but I do think it could do like 90.
I mean, listen, we'll get into
Do you think it goes over 100?
I think it could
go
over 100. It could.
Because it's the first live action DreamWorks.
Yes.
And they, I think, underestimated the live action remakes of the Disney movies before those popped off, before like Beauty and the Beast popped off.
Yes.
The other thing that this AI from Box Office Pro said, that it's only been 6 years since the third movie underperformed.
Okay.
And so there might not be as long of a gap between that and this.
Right.
Now, people did love the first movie, though. That's the thing. They're not remaking the
first
third
movie.
one.
Yes.
So that is something to think about.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't think there's a world where this thing underperforms.
No. There's not a world in which the thing opens to 50.
Yeah.
That ain't happening.
I think we're talking, does it hit the high on the tracking or does it go over?
Yeah.
Is the question here.
Well, so the dragon being scary,
Mm-hmm.
I guess I could see that.
Well, not the main dragon, because the main dragon is cute.
Yes.
The other dragons, the adult dragons, could be scary.
Right. I have you ever seen any of these movies? Have you ever seen a How to Train Your Dragon movie? You have.
I actually have. Funny enough, I watched the first one for some reason. I can't remember what it was. I think I was watching it with a ex-partner.
Okay. It was. I was waiting to be. Is this going to be a child or a partner? And
Yeah.
Okay. Those were the two options there.
Yeah, I watched it with her.
Okay.
And I remember liking it. I remember being like, this is not a bad movie.
Okay.
I usually don't watch cartoons because cartoons are for babies.
Yeah.
But
what was the impetus for that viewing? Who wanted to watch that?
she did.
Okay.
It was so long ago.
Yeah.
This was lives ago.
Okay.
So I don't remember why, but
Is this someone I would have known?
yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Got it. Okay.
So it wasn't that long ago, I guess.
Yeah,
I mean, it was within our friendship, which it has been long.
Too long.
Feels longer every day.
Yes, 100%.
So it was during that, so you do know this person.
I could see, if it's a first-time thing, I could see this person wanting to watch How to Train Your Dragon, which hit movie. Everyone loves it.
Exactly,
Yeah.
right? So so then you know. If you know, you know.
Yeah.
And Pat knows.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I liked it. So I wouldn't say I'd go see this one.
Right.
But I do think it is a...
Would this one have any bad memories for you because of how it's going to... Okay.
No.
You would be able to see this and not freak out in the middle of the movie.
Yeah, I tend to not freak out.
Okay. That's good.
Yeah.
So, having seen it,
Mm-hmm.
are the bad dragons scary in the animated version? Are they scary because of the way they look, or are they super violent?
So you've never seen these?
I've never seen
Okay.
these. I've never seen these movies.
I'm shocked that your nieces have not.
They are interested in seeing this one. They have not watched any of the other ones. I mean, I think the thing about How to Train Your Dragon is also a little bit of it's a boy movie.
Yeah.
And so there is that dividing line.
That's true.
They're very still, it's princess stuff. And so Lilo and Stitch was totally in their wheelhouse. I think they do want to see this.
Okay.
But I have not seen these. And I've never had an ex-partner who was like, hey, tonight we've got to watch How to Train Your Dragon.
Well, there's fighting and there's like warriors with swords and shields. That's what Jerry plays. He plays I don't know if you call them Vikings, but that sort of burly men screaming and
so this is a movie that takes place. Okay, again, forgive me. I haven't seen these. Never dated anyone who wanted to watch these movies, so I don't know. This then takes place in olden knights times. It doesn't take place in modern times where a dragon is
so you
discovered.
have no clue about
I
this.
have
You
no
have not even
concept
seen a
of-
commercial for these?
I have, and it just goes over my head. I don't like dragon stuff. I don't like fantasy stuff.
Okay.
I don't watch Lord of the Rings.
Yeah, me neither.
Okay, so this is not a dragon in the city situation. This is a dragon in dragon times.
Yes.
Let's say it's in dragon times.
Yes, that's the best way to put it.
Yeah, it's in dragon times.
This is where if you were see a dragon, you'd say, that tracks.
Yes.
As opposed to a dragon,
Right.
what's it doing on the top of my bus?
What is it doing on the line where Lance Bass commutes to and from work every day?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like Lance Bass should be on the subway, not this dragon.
Wait, is On the Line about Chicago, or I feel like it's about phones?
No, I think it's about meeting on the overhead train in Chicago. That is what I'm pretty sure Lance Bass is on the line.
Okay,
I have seen it. I have seen that movie.
So you've seen this, but you haven't. But you have no clue. You know that Chicago is the third lead of On the Line.
Yes.
But you had no clue some of the biggest kids movies ever
took place in dragon times. I assume that, but then there was part of my brain that thought, is this a movie about a dragon being unfrozen and found in current day New York City?
Okay.
So the dragon times aspect of it, yeah, I do think that puts an artificial ceiling on how high these could go. Because people do want stuff that takes place in a familiar setting, which is great. I mean, Lilo and Stitch is the perfect version of you take that alien, and aliens, of course, could happen at any time. There's not a time that was just when aliens existed. But the fact that the alien comes down to Earth, I think, is the big key for that success.
You're right. It's about Chicago.
It's about, yes. I mean, I knew it was about that. I've seen the film. It's about him having a star-crossed love on the above-ground train in Chicago.
With E's on and off girlfriend from Entourage.
Yes. Her. I mean, man, that's another one that this could have been her big breakout movie. And it didn't happen, partly because of the tragic events of that time. Did affect movies for the next few months.
Al Green is in this movie.
Wow. And Joey Fatone, of course.
Joey Fatone.
Yeah.
And I know, okay, see, this is why this is
now,
how
none
I
of
know.
these people are voices in How to Train Your Dragon, right? Lance Bass, Joey Fatone, Al Green, the E's love interest from Entourage.
Dave Foley and Jerry Stiller.
Wow.
So another, wow. So Lance Bass was sort of hanging out with the Stiller family in 2001.
Yes.
And I know why. See, this is why.
So is that two movies? So Lance Bass and Jerry Stiller, and we have to mention this on this episode right now.
So were they
were in back-to-back movies together.
Yeah. Were they setting them up as like a Scott Baio, Buddy Lembeck situation?
Possibly. I mean, it was time for a new duo at that point. Scott Baio and Buddy Lembeck had definitely run their course by 2001.
Yeah.
And it could have been Lance Bass and Jerry Stiller, if not for the tragic events that, did affect moviegoing for the next month or two.
Yeah. So, and now I see why you saw, because this is a Miramax film. That's why you saw this.
Yes, of course.
Okay.
Yes.
That totally makes sense.
This is the height of Miramax teen romantic comedies.
Yeah, or young adults.
Yeah, I mean, Lance Bass was out of his teen years by 2001.
I think this is like
mid-40s.
Yeah, I think this was. They were.
Lance Bass was older than us then than we are now.
No, that's the other one.
Joey Fatone was. Joey Fatone was collecting Social Security by 2001, and he deserved every penny of it.
Yes, absolutely. The other one, there was one that was a lot older than Chris Kirkpatrick.
Okay, I thought you were thinking of their manager.
Oh no! Oh yes. I do think of him frequently. Though.
Yeah. So, How to Train Your Dragon, coming out this weekend. It's in Dragons, not dinosaurs.
No, that's a couple weeks.
That's a couple of weeks. No, because Jurassic World movies take place in our times.
Yeah, but in that world, dinosaurs exist, so it is technically the second dinosaur time.
No, that's the whole gimmick of those movies is dinosaurs are on our times.
Well, it depends on the perspective.
I think the perspective is if humans are there, it's human times.
Okay.
Yeah. Excuse me, but I take the perspective of the human. Sorry.
I just have empathy for creatures, great and small.
So the dragons possibly are a little scary. Will teens, do we think it will be made up for by teens who want to see this?
Well, I'm trying to remember.
Not teens, but like 12-year-olds.
Okay, well, I think 12-year-olds would see this definitely. What I was gonna get to is that I can't remember, and we're gonna do the episode about the draft because we really need to talk about our summer movie league, or at least our half of the year movie league, which is what it turned out to be. And I pardon me if it was VP of Interns Christopher, or Austin.
I think it was Christopher.
Was it Christopher who said that was a big movie for people his age?
Yeah.
And that there would be interest in this from people his age now.
Yes.
Which would be grads, recent grads.
Recent grads, yeah.
That would be, taking a little time to figure stuff out right after they graduate. They're just going to rush into a job. They have 100 years to work.
Yeah.
Right? They could work for the rest of their life and die working the way we all are going to.
Right.
Can't they have a few months to just continue to do keg stands at their old house?
Right.
In Happy Valley or wherever.
Right. And then
they
come
can't
back
have that.
And the AI has taken all their jobs.
So that's the thing, right?
That's the
exactly.
thing.
So what do they got to look forward to anyway?
Exactly. The jobs will never be there.
But
so don't even try.
Will they get down from the keg stand?
Mm-hmm.
Is this where the blood goes rushing back to their feet to walk and see this movie?
Yeah.
Or to get on the bus on the line if they're in Chicago?
Yeah. I think that could be a big thing, is that this could be a
nostalgia play, the way that I don't think Lilo and Stitch is.
I don't think so, but it could be a Gentle Munyon situation. Is there
something brewing there?
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Here's the thing. You're a recent college grad. Mm-hmm. You were raised on the How to Train Your Dragons movies. You go to these movies together as a group, and you're drinking Fireballs. That's what you're getting drunk on Fireball at the Dragon movie.
Yeah, see,
is
to
that
me,
the trend?
That feels so much less sweet and nice than Gentle Minions.
Oh, it's awful. They are drinking themselves sick.
Because then they're gonna puke. You can't drink Fireball. That's not for human consumption. That stuff is trash water.
But if you're a 22-year-old who was raised on How to Train Your Dragon,
you're drinking Fireball at the theater.
Yeah, and you're looking for a memeable way of seeing this movie with your buddies, with your gal pals, whoever. I think that could be what's happening this week.
I hope you didn't create something.
If I created something that leads to increased ticket sales at the box office, then I hope I did create it, and I hope I get a percentage of it. I get none of the blame or the legal entanglement.
Well, that's what I'm saying. If you're telling
just the money,
okay,
just the money, or
so
at least
only the good things.
Yes, of course.
And all the wreckage is nothing to do with you. Someone else
cleans that up.
And
it'll be fine. You get these college kids, their tolerance is so high that if they go to the movie theater, see How to Train Your Dragon to relive their youth, and they're just drinking each a bottle of Fireball.
Oh, now it's a bottle?
Oh, yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. I think sell it at the concession stand.
Well, I agree
sell it
with that.
You're an AMC.
Yeah.
You got your MacGuffin's bar. This weekend only, if you are of age, and I'm not saying sell this to the little kids.
No.
I'm saying is it 18? 21. 21 and over.
21.
We got Fireball. Have some Fireball before you go into How to Train Your Dragon.
And
they're selling it by the bottle at a huge upcharge.
I would just say, make sure that when you're selling them this Fireball, you have the tiny paper sign out on the counter that says "Drink responsibly."
Yes,
that's all I would ask.
Of course,
it's this flimsy, tiny paper sign.
Yes,
in very small print.
Very small. Yeah,
that says,
and it's blurry.
Yeah, it says "Drink responsibly."
Yes, of course.
And then you're covered.
Yeah.
So Pat, why don't you say, because
I'll do you one better. Because we are YouTubers. Hey guys. I'm going direct into camera here, and I'm saying this weekend.
Okay, and just because I do have to get my lunch, so try to make this concise.
Okay. So starting from the beginning, because she interrupted, so I got to go back to the beginning.
I just feel like this was going to be really long, so I wanted to make sure that you knew that,
to make it concise.
Make it concise.
Yeah, no. So again, I'll start at the beginning, and I'll state how now I'm starting at the beginning again.
Could you put because you're going to do the video? Can you put the words on the screen?
That I can't promise, but I'm going to say it directly into camera.
Okay.
Here we go. So now I'm saying it. this weekend, first of all, hey guys, this weekend, when you go see How to Train Your Dragon in theaters with your buddies, with your frat boys, with your gal pals, with whoever, and you stop by MacGuffin's bar, or you bring your own. In fact, bring your own bottle of Fireball, and you just chug the whole thing. And I think you should chug it. You should finish that bottle by the first act. Just remember, when you do this, when you chug a personal full bottle of Fireball during this live-action remake of an animated film for your youth, please, above all else, drink responsibly.
Okay, good.
There you go. So I think that is
I just
really...
think you should put it up just because legally that will cover you more.
He's saying because people... Closed caption button on YouTube. There's a closed caption.
You can't expect the lawyers to do it. You got to have it on the screen because then you can just point and be like, "Look,
they'll hit it."
Okay,
they'll hit the closed caption.
That's on you because I didn't. This has
you're there.
To do
You're
with
complicit. If anything,
Ugh.
it's on you.
I mean, then I get the money when this takes off.
It's different streams.
Okay.
There's a revenue stream and there's a
blame stream. Okay.
Yeah. So there's another movie opening this weekend. The Materialists. So this is Celine Song's follow-up to Past Lives.
Great movie.
I mean, a really, I think, impactful movie. Changed a lot of lives.
Yeah.
People saw it. They acted upon it. Whatever. People love that movie.
Great actors. Great cast in that movie.
Okay, so that is possibly the difference between these two movies. So you had a movie where she didn't get the Oscar nom, but the lead actress of that movie, Greta Lee, was on that bubble. That year that came out, I would say she was 6th or 7th.
Very close.
Very close to getting an Oscar nom. And then, of course, you had another character who was a gamer. Surprise gamer.
A loathsome present. But
it was a shocking twist.
The shocking twist where you find out that he is a loathsome gamer.
Yeah. So that movie, Beloved.
I got shudders. It's like Hereditary. That's like a Hereditary moment for me.
Yes. What is a more shocking mid-second act twist that the husband is a gamer in the middle of Past Lives, or the car scene in Hereditary?
Oh, the gamer.
Yeah. More likely to make you vomit.
Gamer.
Yeah. Secret gamer.
Ugh.
And Past Lives got a Best Picture nom.
I believe it did.
And a screenplay, I think. So that was and box office wise, here's the thing. Did that movie make $20 million at the box office? My guess is that it made under 20. I'm looking that up now, but
feels like a movie that people caught on to a little bit later.
That movie grossed $11 million domestically and then another $31 million internationally. Wow. So it got to $42 million worldwide. So that is, for that movie, which I'm sure the budget was single digits, that is a huge hit. So this one, The Materialist, has much higher expectations. They're releasing it in June. It's got Pedro Pascal, who,
it's good to see him in something.
It's good to see him working. You've got Dakota Johnson, fresh off Madam Web. You've got Captain America, Chris Evans. So it's got...
I thought you meant my Captain America.
Who's your Captain America? The guy who played him in the TV movie 40 years ago? Anthony Mackie.
Anthony Mackie.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So it's got Chris Evans. So this movie definitely has, I think, higher expectations than Past Lives. And it is, Past Lives was a romantic drama. This is a rom-com.
It's getting promoted as that.
It is.
But I don't know how okay, so rom-com is one of those slippery things because is a rom-com Sandra Bullock in what's that movie where she's undercover as a model? What is that movie called?
Not Miss America. No, Miss Congeniality.
Miscongeniality, where she's falling over because
But
she's
Miss
got
Congeniality is not a rom-com. I think that is a like premise regular comedy. Like a rom-com is Sleepless in Seattle, When Harry Met Sally.
Okay.
I think the Sandra Bullock movie While You Were Sleeping is a rom-com.
Yeah.
Or the Sandra Bullock movie with her and Ryan Reynolds.
Yeah.
That's a rom-com. And those are definitely
The Proposal.
The Proposal. Like those are rom-coms and there's definitely very clear com.
Yeah.
The Materialists, from what we've seen, I don't see where the com really is. But they are pitching it that way.
Yeah.
And it is sort of the thing of modern day comedies on TV don't necessarily have a lot of comedy in them.
That's
compared
true.
to sitcoms,
Mm-hmm.
you know, and then you have the modern day comedies like a Transparent,
Mm-hmm.
for instance.
That is the most modern.
The one that everyone goes to.
Yeah.
Whereas I think maybe that's just the case what a modern rom-com is. It doesn't have to be that funny anymore.
Yeah.
And again, we haven't seen this movie. So maybe it's a laugh riot. I don't know, but
it's getting good reviews.
It's getting good reviews. So could this be the adult choice of the weekend? Like, do you think that date couples and, you know, just, I don't know if groups of friends, but like,
maybe.
Yeah, this could this be the date movie? Could couples be saying, we've got to see this Materialist movie? It's a rom-com.
I feel like it's possible. So right now the outlook is 7 to 8 million. Costs around 20, but you know, that is what
budgets
it is.
Are budgets.
I just think
Are you excited for this movie?
Excited is an interesting word.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I really want to root for Celine Song as a filmmaker.
Yes.
Just in general, because I think she made a really genuinely touching movie with that like gut-wrenching twist in it.
Yes.
Which so few directors can do that and still have you, not turn you completely off from the material. Right. And so I want this to succeed for her, because then it means maybe she can get an actual interesting actor in her next.
Well, okay, here's the thing. We're beating around it. This cast. Is this cast a draw?
I don't think Dakota Johnson is a draw at all.
Would Dakota Fanning have been a better pick here?
Maybe Elle Fanning.
Okay.
The sun is set on Dakota, I feel like.
Oh, wow. Okay.
We're living in Elle's world now.
Okay.
I think that I just think this cast, Chris Evans is a guy, listen, not another teen movie, one of the best comedies of the 2000s.
Yeah. Great Varsity Blues parody in that movie.
When he walks out with the whipped cream and the banana in his tuchus, it's great.
Yes. Yeah.
Sorry, not to spoil. That's what you do. You spoil. I don't spoil, but
you just did.
But I just that's on me, and I own it, and I admit that it's a spoiler, unlike what you did, which did not admit it.
Never will, and that's how you win.
So that other than that, his post Captain America run has been very boring. I think he's a bland guy.
Knives Out would be the one that people point to.
He had a sweater on.
Yeah. Okay.
He wore a sweater.
Okay.
That was the character. He wore a sweater.
Okay.
And if you're into a guy who wears sweaters, who isn't? But that does not make a star. Right? Think of Tom Cruise. Are you picturing him in a sweater? No, you're picturing him hanging from the side of an airplane. Or you're picturing him in a chunky sweater.
Or you're picturing him in that shirt when he slides into frame with his socks on.
Just the button-up shirt.
Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah.
You're not put a sweater on. You wouldn't put a sweater on him.
No, definitely not.
Because then he's Chris Evans.
Right.
Imagine Chris Evans sliding in. He's got his chunky knit sweater on.
Right.
Ooh, star-making role.
Right. Okay,
he would find a way to make that boring.
Okay, so you're low on Chris Evans.
Dakota Johnson, nothing burger. And Pedro seems like a nice guy. Could be a monster. Probably a nice guy, but could be a monster. Who knows? he's oversaturated, and I don't think that he is interesting in this part.
Well, the thing about is there too much Pedro Pascal? This is the first of those movies this summer.
You're right.
By the time we get to Fantastic Four, that is his third movie in 6 weeks. But Materialists is at least the first one.
Okay.
So if you are a Pedro Pascal fan, or you're Pedro Pascal curious, you're definitely not sick of him yet. Obviously, he's been in The Last of Us and all these shows recently, but it's not like this is the first movie in a while.
Yeah.
So I think that's not going to be a factor for this weekend. The oversaturation of Pedro Pascal. Now, are people clamoring for him?
I don't think so.
I
think these are all celebrities. I think these people are all celebrities.
Yes.
But I don't think they're butts in the seats.
Okay.
I don't think any of them are butts in the seats.
Okay. Is Dakota Johnson a anti-draw? I think that's the question.
Yes.
Because I think Pedro Pascal, people like him well enough, and it's the first of the 3 movies. So Chris Evans, I think the same thing. People like him. Is he bland? Is he sort of a woodblock? Yeah, but people are fine with woodblocks, and they like him as Captain America.
There's a reason why Lincoln Logs still sell out every Christmas.
Yes.
Because there's always an uncle that's too late.
Right.
And he couldn't get the Cabbage Patch.
Yeah.
And so there's always that wood.
Yeah, and that's what Chris Evans is. He's that piece of wood that you can count on, that'll always be on the shelf.
Glenn Powell would be the Cabbage Patch, I would say.
Okay.
The Cabbage Patch doll.
Okay.
If you had Glenn Powell in here, now you're talking.
Okay, so if this is Dakota Fanning, Glenn Powell.
Did you say Dakota Fanning on purpose?
Yes.
Okay.
And
not Dakota Johnson. You're talking about the actual
No, I'm
Dakota
recasting both those parts. So it's Dakota Fanning and Glenn Powell. And I think right now you could keep Pedro Pascal.
You keep Pedro. Yes. I'm more interested.
Yeah.
I do want to see this movie, but there is part of me that's like, am I really going to sit through a Dakota Johnson movie?
And I think she's got that thing of there's been enough movies where she's actively bad in, and we're not critics, huh? But you look at something like a Cha-Cha Real Smooth, which I think people were excited to some degree for that movie. They like that guy's first movie.
Shithouse.
They like Shithouse, and Cha-Cha Real Smooth comes out, and she's kind of rough in that movie. And then Madam Web, and people, they love the soda can sequence as kitsch. But for the most part, people hated that movie, hated whatever she was doing in it. Like, that is the kind of movie that I do think if she wasn't, quote-unquote, Hollywood royalty, that Madam Web movie kind of could end a career.
Yes.
And it didn't. But I do think there's a limit
to Cindy Crawford in Fair Game.
Right.
That ended her acting career.
And her in that Pepsi commercial was a bigger part and a bigger hit than anything Dakota Johnson had been in before Madam Web.
Mm-hmm.
She's never had anything at the level of Cindy Crawford's Pepsi commercial.
Was it Pepsi?
Yeah, is it Pepsi? Yeah. Yeah, I think it was Pepsi.
Okay.
Or her jeans commercials, whatever. There's Cindy Crawford's commercial career was bigger than anything Dakota Johnson had been in before Madam Web. I just think that
you're right, Pepsi.
It was Pepsi, yeah. Of course I was right. How dare you question whether I remember Cindy Crawford being in a Pepsi commercial?
I thought you were thinking about the guy who ended up being in 18 Wheels of Justice. He had a Coke. Was he a Coke?
No,
guy?
not that commercial where they're looking at the guy.
Okay.
Of course, I'm thinking of Cindy Crawford.
Okay.
So, Madam Web could have been a career ender, and it wasn't, and that's fine. But I do think it's a situation where, to the general audience, are they done with wanting to see her in their movies? And I don't know. But I kind of feel like, to the average moviegoer, I don't think they necessarily want her in more things.
Yeah. So Lucky Vanos was the guy. He was a Diet Coke commercial, 1994, and he did 18 Wheels of Justice.
Got it.
So just to close the loop on that,
we had to do it.
I know, and we gotta really curry this up.
What time does this laundromat close?
It closes at 10. So
Okay.
yeah.
So you've got time.
I don't have that much time.
Yeah, because we're in a different borough than where your laundromat is.
Absolutely, yeah. So I don't have that much time.
Right.
So but I did have to make sure everybody knew what commercial I was talking about.
Yes.
When I was referring to the one I thought you confused the Cindy Crawford Pepsi commercial for.
And I had not.
This was a Diet Coke, but I had to make sure that that people know you hadn't.
Yes, thank you. And
or if you had, which one it would have been.
Yeah, and you had to name drop, of course, 18 Wheels of Justice.
Yes.
The show that actor eventually went on to be in.
Brilliant but canceled.
Yeah.
So
Trio, of course.
Trio. So I think that the other issue here is that she talks so much shit about Madam Web.
Mm-hmm.
If this movie underperforms this weekend, do the claws come out? Does she say, oh, well, this movie was stupid anyway. It's just a remake of her last movie.
Wow.
Does she get catty about this? Because she doesn't seem to care about promoting movies in a positive way, because she's just got her attitude.
Yeah.
And the attitude you can have if you're rich and you will always be rich.
Right. And you could go around, listen, the biggest thing Dakota Johnson's ever been in was the clip from her appearance on Ellen, where she, I guess, ended Ellen's career.
Yeah.
That is her biggest hit at this point.
Yeah.
And you could only ride the fumes of a hit for so long, and that was a long time ago. The clip of her on Ellen saying Ellen didn't invite her to her birthday party.
Yeah.
That is a long time ago.
And Ellen's dead and buried.
Yes.
So that's not going to last forever. And there's going to be, in a few years, kids are going to be like, who's Ellen? Ellen who?
Who's Ellen? Right.
Who's Ellen?
Right. And that's going to be bad for Dakota Johnson when you finally get to the point where kids are asking, who is Ellen?
It's going to be the new Who Jackie.
Yeah.
It's Who Ellen.
Yeah.
That's what we're going to be hearing.
Yeah. So she needs another hit.
But who knows, if this doesn't do well, does she throw everybody under the bus?
Yeah.
Because she's capable of doing that.
Yeah.
That's what I worry about.
Yeah. If you're Celine, so I mean, it becomes a issue when you think about casting her. Is, am I going to someday feel the wrath of Dakota Johnson's wit?
Yeah.
When she throws this movie under the bus if it doesn't perform.
Yeah.
So we'll see. So this is a big weekend for Celine Song, because if this movie bombs, Dakota Johnson makes the rounds next week saying that this movie was a lark and it's terrible and it's worse than Madam Web.
Mm-hmm.
That's a rough spot to be in. So there is so much on the line with this box office. I'm just genuinely curious, because I do think so much of it comes down to a rom-com is so star-based.
Mm-hmm.
Sydney Sweeney and Glenn Powell got people out over the course of weeks.
But they weren't stars at that moment.
No.
They really sort of...
Not that they were stars, but that they were just people that audiences wanted to see in a movie at that time. They weren't coming in pre-famous and, we have to see it because they're giant stars.
Mm-hmm.
People wanted to see a movie that had them in the big screen, because that movie offers nothing else other than that.
Yeah.
And The Materialist is kind of the same thing. You're selling it on, do you want to see these three people in a movie?
Yeah.
And I think she's the biggest question mark as to whether people actively don't want to see her. I think that is a possibility. I don't think that's the case with the other two stars here.
Yes. Yeah, is she a turnoff?
Is she? Yeah. I mean, we'll see. And we're only saying that based on the reception to her movies up to this point.
Yeah.
Which I think she has gotten some particularly negative reception on her performance.
Her only hits have been those 50 Shades movies.
Right.
She's never had How to Be Single was not a hit.
A
movie I saw twice.
I saw it in the theater.
I saw it with you.
Yes, that's why I saw it. Yeah. Great. There was a great scene in there towards the end with a very self-aware taxi driver.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Is that kind of the best part of that movie?
Just Take Me Home. Where do you want to
Yes.
go? I want to go home. He says, lady, I don't know where you live.
Yes. I think he may have said, I don't know where the fuck you live.
Yeah, I don't know where the F you live. Yeah.
Yeah.
He did say that.
Yeah. That might have been one of those PG-13 movies that had a really well-used single F-bomb.
Yeah. You
Yeah.
only get one.
In a PG-13, yeah, I think so.
Okay.
Maybe 2.
1 or 2.
But the main thing is it cannot be used in the
yes.
sexual way.
Yeah.
Like you could get 2 leave me the fuck alones,
Yeah.
but you get 0 I am going to fuck you. You
let's
you
fuck.
get 0 of those.
Sorry, I was thinking about this
Episode of Cheers.
Cheers cold open. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, where it's odd that that's what they say to Norm in that episode.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, I kind of lean towards I think this movie will underperform.
Well, what is that? So that's under. Let's get to our numbers.
Let's get to our top 5s because this laundromat is closing and you're not in the same borough as the laundromat.
No.
So, and we still have to upload files before we go. And I think we should get back right before we end a little more on the line talk. I think we still haven't closed that loop. But let's get into our predictions, top 5. Would you like to go first or second?
I'll go first because we gotta
go. But you have to stay for mine anyway. So just because you're going first doesn't mean you go first and then you leave.
But I'll go really fast because I know you're going to take forever.
Yes, 100%.
So How to Train Your Dragon is going to be number 1. Slam doink. Doinkiest of all doinks.
How much?
90.
Okay. Love it.
Number 1, 90. Number 2, Lilo and Stitch.
Mm-hmm.
Number 3, I think is still going to be Ballerina from the world of John Wick. Ballerina.
Okay.
Fuck it, it's a raw feed. Then I think, man.
Here you go.
Number 4, is it Materialist or is it Mission Impossible? I think it's Mission Impossible and then Materialist.
Okay.
And I think Materialist, though, I think it only makes... I think it makes 6.
Okay. All right. So, number 1, I've got How to Train Your Dragon. I think it hits 100 million.
100 million.
I'm doing 100.
I
I'm
hope
doing
so.
100. I think the fireball situation is going to really propel it, and I'm excited for that.
Drink responsibly.
Of course, drink responsibly. So that's number 1. Number 2, Lilo and Stitch. Number 3, Mission Impossible: Final Reckoning. I think that movie makes 10 or 11.
You think it jumps over
Ballerina? I think Ballerina made 24 million last weekend. I think that's going to fall to like 10.
Okay.
I do think that's going to have a big drop. I know it got a good audience score, but I just don't feel any real enthusiasm for that movie.
Yeah.
So I think then that becomes number 4, and number 5 is going to be, God, I predicted this last week. I think Final Destination Bloodline.
Wow, okay.
Jumps over Karate Kid and finishes ahead of Materialist, which I think makes like 4.5 million.
Really?
I think
Bomb-a-rooney.
I think this is a movie that it's a rom-com with a star that people don't like, and maybe we'll be proved wrong, and this is the movie that, listen,
propels her,
even though she's had those 50 Shades movies. I think we're really going to see. This is going to be audiences stating their opinion on, and listen, it's got Chris Evans and Pedro Pascal, but I don't know. I think that if it was Dakota Fanning, we're looking at a higher number this week.
And listen, in a different world, with the tragic events don't happen.
Yeah.
Is Lance Bass
right
the Chris Evans part? Is he the Pedro Pascal part? He would be the Chris Evans part because he would be a guy who had played a superhero, because he would have been Thor.
Yeah, but I think he's the older, distinguished part.
Okay.
I think if in a
then he'd
world,
be Pedro Pascal.
He'd be the Pedro Pascal part.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So then, if this movie is Dakota Fanning and Glenn Powell and Lance Bass in the Pedro Pascal part,
I'm going tomorrow
Yeah.
at 3.
Yeah, and that's a movie that opens like 15 to 20 million.
I think so.
Yeah, I think so. Email us, theboboyspodcast@gmail.com. Let us know if you think that a movie starring Dakota Fanning and Glenn Powell and Lance Bass in The Materialist would do better than the current version. Email us, theboboyspodcast@gmail.com. Follow us at the BO Boys Pod on social media. Want to be
You almost said Cash Me Outside.
I almost did.
Yeah.
Which maybe they play that needle drop in The Materialist. I could see that.
Yeah.
So at the BO Boys Pod, want to be VP of Interns Christopher killing it with the vertical clips on Instagram, on TikTok. Of course, subscribe to the Substack, subscribe to the YouTube. We are YouTubers. Hey guys. And 5 stars on Apple Podcasts. And that's all I got, Clayton.
Pat, I finished.
Right.
And you've said it all, maybe too much.
Okay.
And there's nothing left to be said.
Nothing left to say, so you could go to the laundromat.
Except for, until next time, we'll smell you at the box office. Nailed it.
Hey guys.